It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, folks, I'm super excited. I'm back in Chicago. I had a great time yesterday with my good friend Frank Cucco, who invited me to participate in their board meeting. Very, very interesting company. And those that watch the show know that I'm a big fan of Impact Networking. But I wanted to spend some time and talk to Mr. Cucco, who now is the chairman. He became the chairman of the board about a year and a half ago and turned over the day-to-day leadership to some younger folks. And, I'm going to ask him a little bit about that. But folks, I got to tell you, anytime I come to Impact, one of the things that always really stands out to me, especially knowing Frank over the last 6-7 years, is that the gentleman definitely has a vision. And sometimes his vision could be so outrageous. It's kind of like, let's get into the security business and build this multi-tens of millions of dollars, security SOC center, kind of like the baseball field in the cornfield. And if we build it, people will come. So Frank, I just want to thank you for inviting me yesterday. And, it was very insightful, to learn a little bit more about the company.
Yeah, it was great. The disruption you caused was very nice.
Hopefully,
appreciate that.
Hopefully the board members aren't like, who the hell was that guy?
No, it was all good.
Frank, I got to tell you, as I said in the intro, you really are probably one of the best visionaries in our industry. And not that there isn't any other ones, but the ones that I mentioned it with. And I mean, you really have made some decisions over the years that I'm sure, from a board's perspective would be like, oh shit, Frank.
Yeah, for sure.
Really? Or management team, really? This is what we're going to do?
Right.
But you've always stuck to it. And one of the things that I've always liked about Impact is whatever you do take into the market, you always eat your own dog food.
Right.
And we saw a little bit of that when Anthony presented what you're doing with AI, and I'm going to interview him later, so that'll be interesting. But, when I looked at the security business and that facility, obviously state-of-the-art facility, people have probably seen that in our industry. But tell me a little bit about that. So, you started that construction during COVID.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And you had a vision that we were going to go into the marketplace and sell cybersecurity services.
Correct.
So that vision, obviously, like all visions, is a motion picture. It's not a photograph you took back during COVID and said, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
This is what we want to do, and here's some strategies to get there. So tell us a little bit about how it's changed from your original vision, and then kind of where are we at with it?
Yeah, I mean, the original vision was simple. I had done a lot of reading and whatnot, and I saw just like the AI wave, there was going to be a cybersecurity wave, and people in that SMB type market are going to need that. Mm-hmm. Obviously Fortune 500, they already had all that, mm-hmm. but in the SMB, they didn't have it. So the vision was, okay, this is going to be something that's going to explode. So let's get in front of it, mm-hmm. and let's try to be the leaders and differentiate ourselves from everyone else by building an awesome SOC and putting in some really talented people. And it worked out well. I mean, I think we were off to a slower start maybe the first year, mm-hmm. but now, that's a $40 million business. And, I think that when you believe in something and you can dream something and you can get the people behind you, then you can accomplish great things. But again, a lot of it goes to the people and them being willing to go along with you with whatever that dream is.
Well, a $40 million cybersecurity business in roughly 4 years.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yep.
So where do you see it going over the next 4 years? Do you see it doubling or do you see it tripling?
Oh, I mean, I think it's unlimited because there's cybersecurity companies out there like mm-hmm. Hershevex that he sold and whatnot. I think they were billion-dollar companies. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're just trying to get our little slice of the pie. But I think it's really what you want to make of it and the people you bring in that actually run the business, where they can take it. Mm-hmm. But I think, there's no cap on cybersecurity. I still think it's in its general infancy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think especially in the SMB space,
Yep.
everybody's been aware of all the threats out there.
Sure.
Of course, AI is even adding more threat capabilities
AI
for
is
the bad actors.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a moving target, and you're going to get more of that SMB. We always thought there'd be regulation in the SMB space to force them to really understand cybersecurity and partner with folks like yourself. So, do you know anything about that? I mean, is that out of your...
I mean, the good thing, one of the things we're doing now that you bring that up is, we're partnering with insurance companies. Mm-hmm. So we partner with 2 of the biggest insurance companies in the U.S. to help feed us opportunities because they want their people to have security, obviously. So, that was one of the good initiatives we've done over the last year with Corey Carnes, working with, I don't want to say their names, but two really big insurance, two of the biggest in the country, to get contracts with them to have us be one of their partners that provide that to their clients. So I think that's a good, I don't believe anymore in any of these businesses you can depend solely on your sales team.
Okay.
You have to diversify out these teams, and we could talk about that with the conversion of me leaving and these people coming in and taking over the company, but you have to diversify your sales out so that you're getting the amount of revenue you need to run operations as big as Impact. And believe me, we've struggled with that over the last 24 months, and we're now just trying to get our feet under us again. So, there's always risk reward, and there's always, everything is secular. If you ask me, it's a circle. There's good times and there's tough times, and you just gotta, fight through those things. But there's a lot of great things going on in the industry. There's a lot of great opportunity. You mentioned AI. AI, we all know, is going to be massive, and we're heading in that direction. But again, as you know from the board meeting yesterday, it's all about getting people on board, getting them to believe it, and believe in the model that you're going to run with.
Well, I think it's about a strategy and a willing to make an investment. You were
For
willing
sure.
to make an investment into the facility.
Yeah.
Anybody can build the damn building.
Yeah.
But then you had to put a strategy together, how you're going to take it into the market. That all takes time, that takes money, that takes, when you think about the human capital, every time I come out here or I visit with your people, you realize these are not, you're not going to the...
Yeah. I mean, our strategy is, have the traditional sales force that sells all our other stuff, have a specialized sales force specifically for cybersecurity, have these partnerships with these big insurance companies and whatnot, and then have a channel partner program. If we can accomplish all those things over the next few years, that business will be massive.
Yeah, I believe so too, big time.
But it's hard to do these things as a privately held company competing against private equity companies that have unlimited money and unlimited resources and can sell at any cost. That's just not our model.
I was talking to John a little bit about that. I said, wouldn't it be nice if you could take your loans, throw them in payment in kind for the next 5 years and don't have to worry about paying anything?
That's a good idea.
throw the dice and just say, hope it all works out.
Right,
But
exactly.
it is a big difference.
Yeah.
But I also believe it brings more discipline. I mean, I've heard leaders in the past, even from our space, that would talk about how they have unlimited resources. Anybody that would say you have unlimited resources, you have to question their insanity.
Right.
But when you think that way, then I think you drive a strategy that way, and you keep pushing the shit down the road instead of having a strategy where you accomplish things on a quarterly basis.
Right. I mean, that's another example from the board meeting yesterday where we had certain people come up with not the greatest strategy, or maybe not even a strategy at all, of what the future is going to be. And, obviously you made that point, and it's a valid point that this thing runs on a cycle, and you got to have the strategy for every 90-day cycle.
Yeah, I always thought, the chairman and the board has more of a long-term strategy, but the management team strategy really should be on that 90-day window. And then, what did you do from the last 90 days, and how is your strategy developing, or where is it falling short?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we created the board to begin with, to make people accountable to what they're supposed to be doing. And this is only our, you're in the third board meeting we've ever had. So,
well, I think it's, I think more of our peers in the industry should really look at that as you bring in these outside, independent thinking people with no emotions, no baggage, basically no bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just, and I hate to say it, but everything is about the numbers.
Yep.
And the behind the numbers, well, that's the leadership and that's the management. But everything really needs to be about the numbers and how are we progressing with those numbers.
I mean, if you build a board, the whole point of the board is to bring in people that have done things that you haven't done to help you get where you need to be. So our strategy was to bring in people from a couple of different industries and that ran companies that were well over $500 million. And we got those people in there, and you see how they participate yesterday and how they're helping us try to evolve.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So Frank, let's talk about the big transition. I think, last time I interviewed you was actually when I was in the studio. We had the Paris thing behind us.
Yep. Yeah, that's
Don't
right.
you like this screen, by the way? I got to tell you, man,
yeah.
I just love that screen.
Thanks, AJ.
You can do so much with it. It's crazy.
And Julian. Where is Julian? Hey.
But we were talking about, you were in the process of doing this. I'm going to become the chairman. We're going to put in the younger generation, kind of guide the company forward. So obviously, anytime that happens, there's some pushback, there's probably some changes. And I always thought that when the entrepreneur goes into that chairman's role and he's not down the hallway in that office, a lot of things change in the company because the company builds a persona of their own activities and their own thought processes around the leader.
Yeah.
When the leader leaves, then they might say, well, there's a new leader there. We don't know how he thinks yet, so let's do this, where they might not have done that with you.
Right.
But how is how has it gone? I mean, it's been 18 months.
It's been a very difficult transition, to be honest with you. It's much harder than I thought it would be. I thought we had people that had been with the company a substantial amount of time, and it would be more of a plug and play type deal. But like you said, there's been a lot of disruption, on the top end with management. So it changes everything with how people interact and so on and so forth, even what direction they should do. And then on top of it, we changed our PSA, and we changed our ERP, and we changed our CRM. So to be honest with you, and I always like to be truthful, it's been a tough transition, but I think we're slowly starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
You got good people. And,
yeah, we got
it
great
always
people.
Is with the people. I think your people are also open to critique this, if you will, or,
For sure.
or constructive criticism, if
Yeah.
you will, which is something I think our industry lacks as
Yeah.
a whole.
I mean, we did a lot of great things, but that disruption was definitely slowed down the company for sure. But I mean, they're doing excellent work, and we're putting in the things that we need to put in for the future. But doing those things, changes culture, it changes outlook, it changes everything. But it has to be done. So it's unfortunately like a necessary evil to get to the next level.
What advice would you give someone in your shoes? I mean, you're about the same age as me. I think I'm a little older, actually. But
I'm 63.
So yeah, that's
What are you, 70?
What the hell, man? I'm like 65, man. That's old enough, right?
Oh, okay.
But what's your advice to someone in that position where they would believe, hey, we got this right team, because you're going to put the team in place.
Yep.
You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to just leave and these people are going to take over. So your strategy was to put the right people in the bus seats. And, what would you say to someone that's thinking of doing that? What's the biggest take you got out of it?
I think there has to be more of a transition period, and no matter how long they've been at the company, there has to be a phase out. It can't just be, a cold, like you walk out off into the sunset because you believe people have been around for a long time and are going to understand, what needs to be done and the day-to-day activities that need to have happened. I think there has to be more of a longer runway out. If I had to do it over again, that's what I would do.
So thinking about, I'm going to go buy a villa outside of Tuscany and spend a whole lot of months there right off the bat, is probably not a good strategy.
That's not a good strategy. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but that's definitely not a good strategy.
Well, maybe this year you won't be able to go as much, but
Right.
You'll get to go back, Frank, I assure you.
Oh, I was just there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So when do you see the timeline for when you're going to do what you did the first time? Like, you know what, I'm ready to go, and I'm not going to be babysitting. I'm not going to be in here every day. I'm not going to be driving the strategy. I want you guys to do that. When do you think that'll happen?
I mean, I think within 2027.
Okay.
By, the end of 2027. But I always knew that we were going to have a massive transition. I mean, I've said it at all our company meetings that there's going to be a rough road up until the beginning of 2027, because I knew what was going on and what we had to change and all those things. So I expected, this chaos anyway. But I think people are settling in. I think we brought a lot of good C-suite employees in, giving different perspective than the past people. We got a really good CFO now in the company, which will help make us much more disciplined. So I think all the right pieces are being put in place. Now they just have to gel together. That technology has to come through, which should be in by the end of the year. And then I think we're ready to get back to growing.
Well, I was able to spend some time with John, your new CFO.
John Q.
And I would say that, he's going to be one that probably has a little bit of, I think he has a stick, a little bit of a carrot, but I think he's definitely going to drive some disciplines toward those financials, which is good.
He's a very tenured guy, and that's probably one of the mistakes I made when you're asking me about what I would do differently. We had a very young CFO, and I thought, okay, we're going to have a young crew. They'll take us to the next 25 years, He had been here 12 years. Well, that didn't work out, So you really need to have I think in certain positions, a much more tenured person who has done these things at much larger companies. He came from HSBC. He ran, I think, a $7 billion operation for them. I mean, those are the kind of people you need when you do these kind of transitions. So I definitely made an error there too.
And that's an expense.
Yep.
And I think it goes back to what are you willing to invest in the company, not only for your strategy, but in your human capital, in your ongoing business process on a daily basis. And I think Impact's never been short of that. I mean,
Nope.
Sometimes you're probably like, we're investing too damn much. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, we got to get our ROI back.
Yeah.
So when you look at the cybersecurity business, because that is a massive amount of infrastructure.
Right.
I mean, I remember the first time I talked to you about that, I was like, holy shit. So you have this massive infrastructure that you put together. How is the ROI going on that? And where do you?
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, these are great businesses because you don't have trucking, you don't have machines being taken out, you don't have parts, you don't have supplies, technicians having to work on this stuff. It's a much easier business to control and grow, and most of our businesses now, we used to have, this is one of the issues with Impact today, we have these massive facilities that cost us a ton of money that were built for copier teams. We had 2 or 3 teams of 8 reps, 3 managers. Now those buildings are empty because you don't need that when you're selling AI, cyber, and IT. Basically, you're going after a specific ICP, ideal customer profile, and you only need 4 people on a team in a branch. So that's another issue we're working through is like subleasing these locations, sizing them properly for the business of the future. So, I mean, a lot of things are changing, but to get to the bottom point is they're difficult, but they're easier. I think cyber is one of the easier ones if you have the stomach for it because it's controlled, everybody's in one spot, not a ton of overhead, and as you know, it runs off AI. And they're basically, it's eyes on glass watching for specific alerts that are given to them.
Which is, you substitute the physical infrastructure for human capital infrastructure from a cost standpoint.
Yep.
But the scalability.
But eventually that pays.
Yeah, but the scalability is so much easier.
Yeah, and then with AI, I mean, that's a more project work, not the traditional MRR. But then you can build, like we've built specific AI models we use at Impact. Well, then you can go put it on a website. You can sell it for MRR. They just log in, buy that specific product, and they're billed monthly for that. So that's where we're going with that type of stuff, doing those 2 things, project work and doing modeling where it's sold on the internet.
Well, last time we talked, and I didn't hear it this time, so I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah.
But we were shooting for the $500 million number. Have we decided we're going to shoot for a profitable number and the revenue will come with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've turned that model upside down. Chasing revenue, I think you've said it, and I watch your shows, a lot of shows you say that's not the way to run a business, to chase revenue. And especially in this day and age, it's not. Maybe in the past it was more acceptable. But I mean, now this company is turning the model into profitability somewhere, between 60, 70% in every line item we have. And if we're not getting 60 or 70%, we're going to be eliminating that product from what we sell.
Which I was amazed by the gross profit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's high, it's good.
Yeah, it's high, but you saw the overhead too.
Yeah.
And that's the real issue.
Cost you have
that's the real issue.
That's the scalability to get through that.
Yep.
But I would tell you that I heard that chasing revenue thing when Orlando Bravo said it. Of course, he heads up Tomo Bravo, but he said that actually during COVID, and his whole quote was, "The days of chasing revenue at all cost are over."
And I would agree 100%.
Yeah. And when I think when you looked at the print business, and this was such a stupid thing in our industry, is that we knew if we had a revenue number, we knew exactly what the profit number was. There was nothing hidden.
Right.
There was no surprises. You run a business; it's a mature industry. So if you're going to chase $500 million in print, you knew where the hell you would end up.
Right.
But even that's changed to a degree because the revenue we're chasing, we're giving the shit away. We're in bid wars. We're doing service for next to nothing. It's a vendor auction. But when I look at the IT space, I don't, my buddy Milton, who had sold his company
Correct.
recently,
Yeah, a
but,
lot of money.
no one ever talks about really their revenue. They talk about that 15 times their EBITDA.
Right, in that business. I mean, I think in the copier business, people chase revenue
Yeah.
in the hopes of then selling that business off. And I think, the days of really selling these businesses off are much different than they were 20 years ago.
Well, they all have to be strategic buys. We
Yep.
see a lot of smaller companies being bought up, but those are asset sales that they're just, buying the top off, and it's not a big deal.
Right.
I love seeing the press releases where so-and-so bought 3 companies in one day, and we act like, oh my God, people are dumping money in print. And I'm like, yeah, if you do the math on all 3 companies, they
It's
could have
one
went out
IT
to dinner.
It's one IT deal.
Yeah, so it's crazy stuff. Well, Frank, it's just always great talking with you. I'm just really proud of what you guys have built here. I'm super honored to be able to be part of your journey. You give me access, and being able to learn about the company has always been quite enjoyable, actually.
Well, we appreciate your input as always, and appreciate you coming out to the board and doing this little video. And we always are listening and making sure we have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the industry, and a lot of that comes from you.
Well, I appreciate that, Frank, and I'm looking forward to interviewing Anthony on the AI thing.
Yeah.
And his presentation just blew my mind. So they figured out a way to monetize it.
That's the key.
And I got to rant for a second, but we go to the shows and we got the AI expert, and we're learning how to make cartoon characters of ourselves. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we got to be able to take it in the marketplace and monetize it.
Got to have a product.
And we have to be able to use the product that we're going to monetize inside our own infrastructure. If we're not willing to do that, then probably just sell your business and move on down the road. Frank, it's always great talking to you, because everybody watching me knows this: status quo is the killer of all to be invented. Don't get stuck there.